Good morning to everyone, and thank you for invitation. It is a pleasure to talk to you this morning, despite the fact that weather is what it is in November. I guess we have a very important topic, or you have been already talking about important topics. Before we can go to the local solutions and innovations, what we are doing in Nordics and what we are doing in our industry, we should understand what's going on in global content. To be able to build up the innovations which has really meaning and has a role in our fight against climate change, we have to see and understand the global situation and what's going on in this planet. Despite the fact that local solutions are important for Nordic countries, the best result we are achieving by building up knowledge and know-how where we can demonstrate it first in our home markets, but then utilize it later on in other countries as well. So I will start with a big picture, and it might sound to you a little bit pessimistic when I will show you the couple of first slides, but I think we have to realize where we are and understand the challenge and size of the challenge and the volume challenge what we do have in front of us. When I was in school some 30 years ago, we had 4 billion people on this planet. Now we have passed already 7 billion and we are on our way to the 9 billion. Billion is, my friends, it's a big figure. Every one of us, only if we would like to stay alive one day, we consume quite a big amount of energy. Every one of us. If we are sitting here a whole day, we are still using quite a big amount of energy. And every man in this planet who is living here is consuming quite a lot of energy. And you can see, if I can use this now correctly, you can see here correlation between population growth and consumption of primary energy. It's very, very linear. And it's almost mission impossible in big scale to substitute or somehow break this correlation. So primary energy demand will grow no matter what if the population will grow. Therefore, by far, the best climate act is improve the females' position in developing countries, that they are not anymore baby machines like they are in many places. That is by far most efficient thing to do. There the religions are playing quite big role, and I haven't seen too much effort to try to change that development. In Africa alone, population will grow 30 million per year. That's a huge challenge. Simultaneously, when we have a population growing, also standard of living is growing. GDP of the globe is growing even more up than population and fuel. And here we have a little bit break that correlation that GDP has growth more than energy consumption, which tells you that we have found through energy efficiency by some other means ways to increase the GDP more than what we have increased the energy consumption, but still correlation is extremely strong. And same time when people are improving their lifestyle, improving their standard of living, it means automatically that there is more demand for primary energy. And where this primary energy is coming from, Today it's coal, oil and gas. And this forecast is made by PP, but I took it from PP pages because I like this, that they have everything on same page. But the same info you can pick up from whatever source, it's pretty much similar. In energy business, it's quite easy to forecast what is going to happen in next 15 years. Because we know extremely well that what kind of power plant project we have ongoing, what kind of changes are going to happen in next 15 years. Therefore, what we are forecasting here cannot be too much wrong. And if we look at the Paris Agreement against this forecast, they are totally from two different planet. This will lead to the 6 degrees temperature rise or something like that. So there's quite a huge gap between reality and talks, what politicians are talking, and many business leaders as well. I wouldn't say that they are lying, but they are not facing the facts. Somehow it reminds me about the president elections in the United States. These power plants which are generating all this energy what we are having today, and the plans what we have for the future, they are all listed. They are projects which are going on. All of them are not as long lasting as our nuclear power plant Olkiluoto 3, but still they are there, and they are coming in line, and they are pretty much utilizing these fuels. So what should we do? How could we break this correlation, and how we can find solutions there? There are no silver bullet in this one. Definitely this kind of acts like improving the female's position, changing our lifestyle, they are necessary. But when we go to the technology side, there we clearly see that we are missing certain technologies. And therefore it's very much wrong and dangerous to say that we have all technologies what is needed to stop the climate change, we just have to put them into practice. That is not true. What we are missing, two major things what we are missing is, I will take actually the next slide. Two major things what we are missing is electricity storages in industrial scale. So if we have a renewable electricity production, solar, wind, whatever renewable, or actually solar and wind, I think the major flows, the consumption and demand does not meet. We all know that that is the issue, and we can't really handle that problem by batteries. Batteries can be biggest battery solutions can be maybe 1 mega or 5 megawatts, but we need hundreds or thousands of megawatts type of electricity storages. And I do know that the scientists around the world are putting a lot of effort to find new solutions for this one. But as long as they haven't found solutions, as long as we haven't found technology to store electricity in industrial scale, solar and wind cannot take the role here bigger than this forecast is telling us. And that share there, it's still extremely small. It's pretty much same as it is today, a little bit bigger. So one guy who has been studying quite a lot this global energy system, he said that change in primary energy production from one production form to another, it will last 30 years to have a 1% change. I'm not that pessimistic, but if you think about that, right now fossil fuels are having here roughly 78% share of the primary energy production. To get that down 1%, if that will request 30 years, I think we can forget the Paris Agreement. That's totally nonsense against that. So we need desperately new solutions, new technologies. This, I already said, this electricity storage request, that is very much needed to be able to speed up the change. Second very big thing is crude oil problem, what we do have in our hands. Not too many people are aware of it, that what does crude, I'm talking about fossil crude oil now, what crude oil distillation curve means. Because it's a detail and it's complicated and I don't want to hear about it. But if you don't understand what does that mean, it's quite obvious that we don't find the solutions to substitute oil either. And I'll show you one example out of it. I'm not going to too much to the details because it is very complicated item. But now, so far we have been, when we have been talking about substituting the crude oil, we are not really talking about substituting the crude oil. We are talking about substituting gasoline or diesel or heating oil or whatever product, oil product, what we can see here, what kind of different type of oil products we are getting out of the crude oil. But the problem is, and this is just 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 2 type of facts, that if you are putting crude oil into crude oil distillation unit, you are getting all these products. You want it or not, they all are coming. As long as you need one of the products, you are getting the rest of the products as well. And then if you start to substitute oil by substituting one product here, you really have to have a question that, or answer to the question that, where do you put that product then? Are you pumping it back to the earth? What are you going to do with that? If you think about electricity cars, for example, I'm not, by the way, having anything against electricity cars. Don't read me wrong. Quite opposite, but I think they are not ready when it comes to technology and they are not very cost efficient. We talk about that later. But if we take just a little bit imagination, I try to demonstrate you how this works. If we take this petrol out here, this is gasoline. And we say that tomorrow all the gasoline cars will be destroyed and we have electricity cars instead. Still, oh, I'm now going too quickly. Still, we are we keep flying. I guess most of you have come to Helsinki by airplane. And that is growing the fastest what comes to the oil product. This year we are consuming 300 million tons of jet fuel. The growth alone is over 3%, 9 million tons annually. And biofuels, if our biofuels can be a solution, I can tell you that if we look at the raw materials, what we do have today in our hands and technologies, we can theoretically maximum what we can produce out of the biofuels for the jet fuel industry is 2 million. Today we are not producing maybe a couple of tens of thousands of jet fuel for PR purposes mainly, to greenwash a little bit the image of the airliners. But really, it's nothing. It's really nothing, and governments who are here saying that we are very serious and we are very worried about the climate change, they are making huge investments in Nordics to the airports to increase this business. Here in Helsinki, we are investing 1.3 billion to be able to take more passengers from whatever countries and increase the tourists. That is very good example that we don't understand at all what we should do. And we don't have a model how the global energy system really works. So, back to the example. If we need any of these other fuels, this gasoline, what we are substituting by electricity cars, it's still coming. Okay, then what will happen to that gasoline? You can't pump it back to the earth. If you are turning 10 liters nowadays in Nordics to the earth, there's immediately fire department there and saying that, oh, ho, ho, you have to clean it up. So where can you put this kind of gasoline amount? You can't really put it to anywhere, but there is of course one solution. You can put it to the aggregator and make electricity out of it. But that does make hell of a lot of sense, does it? So solving this problem, really, we need to find, and getting the crude oil consumption down, we have to develop new biocrudes, which can be from sustainable raw materials, which can be blended together with crude oil and then get the crude oil consumption down. So that is the second bottleneck. I have smaller bottlenecks, many of those, but if you want to remember a couple of big ones, is electricity storages, industrial scale in electricity storages. That's one bottleneck. The other one is sustainable raw materials for biocrudes, because we need a liquid fuels for many other purposes, not only for flying. It's not realistic to stop flying. We all know that we could take it down, but we can't stop it. And there are other products what we are making out of the crude oil which cannot be substituted very quickly either. So we have to find sustainable biocrudes to be able to get crude oil consumption down. One example is food production. Not too many people realize that how much oil we are using to produce all the food what population are eating on this planet. Most of those big food producers, they have huge plantations where they have all the machines are diesel based and impossible to substitute by any type of electricity vehicles. So if I'm always asking the question when people are starting to say that we are cutting these and these, I'm saying who is the one who is not eating tomorrow? Please raise your hand. So the challenge is the big. And then because we need innovations and we need to develop the know-how, I think it's very important that we will recognize the global energy system. If we are doing this here, what will happen there? I'll give you one example more about it, that how this system works. This is very familiar for Nordic people. We made a couple of years ago a decision that the boats in Baltic Sea cannot anymore use heavy fuel oil, which many people think that was very smart decision. In one way it was. We improved the quality of the air locally here in Baltics. But still that heavy fuel oil was keep coming because we were producing all these products. So what happened to that fuel oil which we used locally here in Baltics? Oil companies moved that to Africa and Asia, where they are producing with very old-fashioned facilities electricity out of it. So if you look at the global content, actually it was a bad thing. But of course we had a locally better quality of the air. So we should develop the global energy model where we can see that what kind of consequences each and every action what we are doing is having. And because there is so much research and development work to be done, we have to done our actions in a way that they are as cost efficient as possible, because there is that the research work is going to cost a lot of money, and then we shouldn't spend our money in uncost efficient way. And I'll show you one example out of the electricity cars, and this is reality today. I'm not talking against electricity cars. I'm just saying that is this right time to put taxpayers' money to the electricity cars, or should we put that taxpayers' money to research and development work? If I would go now to the car salesman here in Helsinki and I try to buy Volkswagen Golf electricity vehicle versus gasoline vehicle, only the capital cost to deduct that CO2 amount is almost 1,300 euros per CO2 ton. Trade emission is trading now 5 euros. Is this tax money well spent or not? Answer is very easy. I have sent this file to European Commission, to politicians here in Finland. Nobody has said anything against the figures. They have said, yes, Mika, figures are correct. But we still would like to support electricity vehicles at this stage. Why? Car industry. Yeah, but why? It's a hell of a good question, and I haven't got any. I ask, could you give me one argument what I can understand? Please. And I haven't got any. Because if they are saying that, yeah, Mika, they are getting cheaper in the future, well, let's buy it then, when they are cheaper. Why should we buy now? Let's put the money, meanwhile, to the research and development work, because that has to be done anyway. All right, I think you showed me already 5 minutes ago that 5 minutes left, so I guess I have 2 minutes left. Okay, I tried to leave some time for the questions as well, but back to the innovations. What we have tried to do, we are not complaining too much as a company. I have to look at the big picture. I have to build up the map to myself that I can see that we as a small company, we can do smart things. What we have done based on that analysis, we are now drilling a hole in Otaniemi, which is a city next to Helsinki, where we are drilling a hole which target is to reach 6.5 kilometers deep hole. We are pumping water there. We are measuring where the water start to flow. In fractions of the rock, and we measure where it start to go. We have 5 different measurement stations around Helsinki, and then we drill another hole, and we try to pick up that water which has been warmed up by nature. So in 6.5 kilometers deep, there is 120 degrees temperature here in Helsinki as well. We have another project in planning in Malmö, and there we don't have to go that deep, but that's another story. We first have to get this up and running, but if we are successful on this one, it's a natural heat exchange system, which means that in heating in Nordic, we can stop burning totally. No need to burn anything if we are successful. It's a big fish, and there is a big if, but we are trying, and that is the example what type of things you should try to make this change happen. Another example, we are now running up our ethanol plant in Kajaani. We have had in our biofuels the strategy from the very beginning that we only use the raw materials which are sustainable and they are real waste and a problem for others. And sawdust is something what will come out from the forest industry every time when you are doing something. Sawdust is quite bad for whatever other energies use, because there is almost 50% water, or sometimes even more. But for ethanol production, it's fantastic because we have to put even more water in to get ethanol out of it. And there, we are developing the enzyme knowledge that we are getting maximum amount of ethanol out of it. And that type of know-how is something which is definitely needed around the world when we are getting to that stage that we are really forced to use all the raw materials, sustainable raw materials, to get the oil consumption down. So those kind of things you can do, and innovations in renewable energy, they are absolutely needed to be able to solve this climate change challenge or help the climate change. We can't anymore. I don't see that it can be totally solved, but all what can be done should be done. And let's see how this Mother Earth can handle it. I'm optimistic about it, but we definitely should put our effort to the research and development more than try to push some crazy things to the market. So I guess that was my story. So I would like to answer the questions then maybe.
Yes. Thank you, Mika. Okay, let's. I talked about inspiration beforehand. Maybe this was like, boom, the reality check. Okay, but all right, that's where we are. This is a huge. Oh no, take that away. It's so depressing. But anyway, anyone who wants to oppose this image or wants to show that yes, we can still do things there, or just has another question or reflection, please. Take a chance. Yes.
Jagutala Ferdio from Turku University. Thank you very much. So nice talk, and I'm very happy to hear very often ST1 is in front line of the bio-based energy and new projects. This Kajaani also. I have one question. What is your opinion about using again algae, which is the quite sustainable source for wastewater treatment and also bioenergy, biofuels?
Using
algae, microalgae or microalgae.
Oh, that's... I'm not expert on that field, I have to say. But what I have heard, it's very positive. But maybe I shouldn't say too much more about it, because I always, when I say something about something, I try to be some kind of expert on it. So I don't... I don't want to say too easily things about the matter which I don't know that well. So, but what I have heard and my colleagues has told me that it's very positive. So maybe that's my answer as well.
Let's hope so. Yeah, another question over there.
Yes, Mikael Sjöwall from the Nordic Environment Finance Corporation. Isn't it true that regardless of your interest in innovations and renewable solutions, the backbone of your cash flow is derived from fossil fuels? So how does that come together? Aren't you part of the problem?
Oh, no.
That is a nice question.
That is very good question, and I always have to explain that to our own employees. I have done that for 10 years. And our cash flow and our profits are coming mainly, almost all of it is coming today from fossil business. And to be able to make this change to happen, we need a strong cash flow. So the money to develop these kind of things, what we are doing in Otaniemi, what we are doing in Kajaani, all renewable energy solutions, what we have developed and what we have done, you can't do those things without money. So when we are talking internally in our company, those oil people, when I bought Shell and Exxon, they were all oil company employees. And they asked, Mika, what does this mean that we are CO2 aware energy producer? And it was pretty easy actually to explain after I had thought about it many years, that those people who are working in fossil business, they are making our strategy possible, so they are enablers of our strategy. And those people who are doing work on and research work on renewable energy, they are executors of our strategy. So everyone in our company has extremely important role. But it's clear that if oil companies are not going to be part of the solution, there will be no solution. Nobody has money. Oil companies has the money, and they have to do the change. And when I have been talking about this, that we have to force these oil companies to make change in EU Commission. One lady said to me that, Mika, you're absolutely right, but oil companies are against it. I said, well, okay, then why bother then? We have to have legislation and regulations which will force fossil energy company to put their profits to renewable business. That's what we have to do.
How do you feel about that? Your colleagues in the oil business, so to speak.
They don't like too much about me, but I don't really care. My children loves me, so that's most important. So
we have so many. We have a couple of more questions,
Okay.
so we just keep them going.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ole Jørgen Hansen from Østfold Research. I think you have some very good and clear points about the possible imbalance in the measures taken to promote different types of new renewable energies. And but I think that we all know that transition costs money, and that we need funding to go from one type of technology to another, from one type of fuel to another. And it will probably never be any difference that the society have to use some tax payers' money to finance this type of transition. Otherwise, we will never change from fuel-based to electricity-based cars, for instance. So I think that we really need to say that, yes, we have to do both. The problem in Norway, for instance, today, I think, is that there is an imbalance between what you are funding of electricity cars and what you are funding of or using money to promote other types of bioenergy, for instance, biogas and all those substitutes. So that was a comment. My question is, I think you have a good point about multiple output from the refineries. But don't you think that if we get an imbalance in the output in the market for the different products, this will cause other types of products to be much more expensive, because it's more difficult to get the whole system in function, which means that this price imbalance will cause crude oil products to be more expensive, which means that the consumption of those products will go down, because you can't so easily manage the whole portfolio.
Actually, it works other way around, unfortunately. Those products which you cannot substitute, like jet fuel, that one is getting very expensive. But then something like heavy fuel oil, IMO, I think it was not very much in any press. IMO, International Marine Association, made a couple of weeks ago decision that fuel oil, heavy fuel oil, will disappear from shipping business globally by 2020. And again, that heavy fuel oil does not disappear to anywhere, but it will come as a waste. So where does it end up? It will end up to Africa, to the poor countries, and very cheap price. They are not modernizing their electricity production. They are getting that almost for free, because oil refineries have to get rid of that stuff. It doesn't go anymore to the marine business. So I think there is a lot of things what we have to discuss and understand I disagree with what you just said, and but it doesn't really matter are we having agreement or not. But I think oil business is so powerful, and you don't really understand what it all requests to substitute these things. I have been thinking about this for 15 years, and I can tell you that it's not going to be easy journey.
Okay,
A final
one more question.
Yeah, thanks.
Hello, my name is Per Hansson. I'm from the Nordic Joint Committee on Agricultural Research, and my main interest is the grain prices, of course. And I was thinking about the use of corn and other agricultural produce for ethanol production, which is very heavy subsidized in the United States, for instance. And possibly we could have some kind of change in that view of how the energy system is subsidized, and that will actually your view on what kind of impact that could have.
We have had from the very beginning the strong view about it that we cannot use the same raw materials for biofuels what are used for human food. So food raw materials are not really sustainable at all. So corn ethanol, for example, I can't see that that's very smart or by any means. It's not very good thing at all. And but the challenge today is that if we say that okay, corn is not anymore allowed to use for ethanol production, what would happen then? I guess you know the answer. It's a huge amount of corn. What we are going to do with that corn? It's easy to say that there are people who are starving in Africa, but how can you create a system that you are transferring that food from there to there? It's a tricky question. There are no easy answers in this field, and I think I can only agree with you when it comes to the sustainability of the raw materials. That has to be there all the time when we are talking about biofuels. And I'm not saying that biofuels is solution by any means. I'm saying that we have to, by research work, we have to find new sustainable raw materials, which can come, for example, from oceans. Oceans, we have a huge oceans in this planet, areas where the temperature is pretty warm and high, and we can maybe grow some raw materials there. But that's these stories are a little bit like Elon Musk science fiction type of things. So, but we have to have those in our mind as well, because raw material is really the key thing. But
Thank
by
you very
definition,
much.
yeah, okay,
I'm
I
sorry.
have to stop now.
The final question was really also where do you see these most important innovations coming? I mean, do you see any hope on the horizon here?
From Nordic, of course.
Yeah. And this was a planted question, of course.
No.
Yeah.
It's really our company values are Nordic values. That's what our employees has made our values, and we believe on Nordic values. We believe that this is the best way to build up the society, and by this system we also see that we are getting high education, and by knowledge and know-how we can find the ways to make the world a better place. And this place is fantastic for that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mika. So